Welcome everyone to the next session of TASSTA webinars. I am very happy today to welcome with you my friend Alberto from our partner Vertel. Vertel is our partner in Australia, so they are far away, sometimes, and but principally we can manage it online always. And the reason for this webinar is compared to the others is that because I want to introduce you our partner first, what kind of interesting things they do, and also connected to their thoughts. Okay, how and why they choose, let's say, which software and also especially which hardware for their projects. So welcome, Alberto. How are you doing?
Hi, Kave. I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me. And hi to everyone.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's
Alberto,
all virtual.
we are since many years in partnership right now. And just give us a little brief introduction to the people that they know, okay, what you are doing. And because I mean, honestly, each time we speak, you tell me something new what you are doing. Last time you told me that you are working also in the US. So just give us some brief introduction.
I'll just do a brief introduction on Vertel. And we are an Australian company, Australian CSP. We've been on the land mobile radio market for nearly 50 years. So one of the pioneers in the technology, towers, links, and all sort of things for the past 50 years. And we serve a large market here on the two radio, and then on the other service that we with the time brought to market, and we specialized in mission critical communication requirements. So we don't necessarily go after every type of customer, only customers that actually consider communication, group communication, and other services in the communication space critical for their business. So roughly, what was probably 2.5, 3 years ago, we've explored push to talk over cellular for a long time, but 3 years ago we started our journey with TASSTA, and we put it on the market as an alternative to our LMR networks, and is slowly taking over. It's becoming the primary offer for us at the moment. So we are assisting customers both in the choice of the software and the technology, but also in the choice of the hardware, because being part of the LMR world, the service and the hardware was always kind of combined together. Was never, it's not like the mobile phone where you get a network from someone and a mobile from whoever you want. It's much more entangled, and it's much more important for a customer to be guided through the process of selecting the correct hardware. Yeah.
So all your customers are mission critical. So this is basically where you focus, right?
We do have a large part of mission critical customers. We work with both the likes of New South Wales Health, New South Wales Ambulance. We have Bora, IRT, Elias. Now, some of these names may not mean a lot to people outside Australia, but they are quite a large organization, both in the government and in the enterprise space. We do have also smaller customers that we serve. We may serve with a similar setup depending on their capability and their appetite, but we can also have a different setup for them. So we have partners that work with us and maybe look after some more specific market that may not fit into the critical communication, but for us, that's our main target.
And when you are targeting, let's say, when you go to a customer to introduce him what you can do, are you going with a complete package, or are you first communicating to him and say, okay, this is principally the frame, but it can be, and then to get a feeling which kind of hardware would be useful for him?
With the years, we sort of developed a list of validated hardware. But with the collaboration with you, of course, TASSTA did a lot of work on the major hardware vendor like Samsung and Nokia and there's plenty of them. And of course, we sort of revalidate it from our perspective with our engineers, and we bring it to the customers. We do have some preferred solution. Depending on some industry, we may have a sort of a preferential approach. And that preferential approach comes from our expertise and our experience on the field. And we have, for example, a specialized hardware for some specific industry that we could bring to them. I could talk about a couple of examples if you want.
Yes, I mean, just because okay, so principally you have you approve hardware, and yes. So if before you go to the customer, you say, okay, this is principally the packages. I mean, so these are the vendors or the devices which we can suggest to you, right?
So we have in the details, we have what we would call Vertel recommend. So it's hardware that we extensively tested. We actually been involved with the type approval process in Australia. You know, Australia has type approval process that requires a bit of extra bureaucracy, if you want. So for some vendor that are not the mainstream vendor, it may be a bit complicated to get here. So we take care of that part. And we sort of do some stress testing, both from application compatibility, so working with you with TASSTA on the software itself, but also durability of the hardware, batteries, and accessory, belt clip, whatsoever, power banks, and so on. So those are the ones to recommend. We do have a list of a large list of Vertel approved, where we know that the hardware works and it's validated and it's passing all our tests, but we are not necessarily involved in the source of the hardware. So the customer can pretty much purchase the hardware directly from the vendor or from another distributor. We don't need to source that hardware for them.
Okay. So let's go to the point that what is the hardware I mean, okay, we found out you pre-approve them, you check let's say the accessories around it, you check the quality, and this is the process how you approve a hardware, right? And so to which results did you came, and can you give us more maybe concrete ideas?
Sure. So there's quite a large list, so I don't want to speak on all of them. I'll just bring a couple of examples of industry that could be relevant for other people. So I'll speak about one industry where we are active at the moment, and we're having quite good success and traction. And it's actually the solution is extending to other type of verticals in a similar space. The industry is the waste management. So we're talking about trucks that drive around Australia and collect garbage from business and buildings. So this industry has been typically served from an LMR service, so a traditional two-way radio service. And we've been involved with several of those customers, providing our own network and our own support to them. When we proposed to them a transition towards a push-to-talk solution, one of the immediate requirements that came very clear was that the hardware that we had in mind was a very specific and specialized hardware. So first of all, they wanted something that was going to be mounted in a vehicle and not necessarily something with a cradle that you can put and take away. That's just their requirement. That's how they used to do the work and how they used to do the service. So they were really interested in having a replacement that was something that you could not take away, that would power with a vehicle. So there was some condition that were there. And that part, we had a few people that could offer some a hardware similar to that. What was really challenging was the microphone. So all the units mounted in a vehicle needs a microphone. A color code was the preference, so not a Bluetooth for a noise and other related issues. So units with color code, there's plenty. Units with a color code and a keypad, not many. The reason why they need a keypad is because they operate, most of them, let's say 99% of this business, they operate in a simple dispatcher mode. So the dispatcher calls and the group call, but they also operate on a one-to-one scenario. So they have to call a specific depot, they have to call a specific dispatcher. So they needed actually a keypad to digit the number and call without actually touching the main unit. So that led us to go and find a hardware vendor that was actually delivering a robust solution physically and had fan control for like turning on and off the fan, was compact enough to be installed in a vehicle without having too much of an impact, and had the keypad. Then the next step was actually bridging and working with TASSTA and UCAVA to made it work. So because those very specialized hardware vendor, they not necessarily a generic Android device. They may have some small tweaks and small requirements. So it was quite a bit of a journey to come to that, and we're actually bringing it to market now, and it's finally available and it's having a lot of success. So this is to explain that from a simple requirement, we actually had to do a lot of work on the testing, on the development of the device, and on the software compatibility, but the result is actually quite great. I could do another example if you want, or
yes, absolutely. I'm just saying. I just want to to make a summary that okay, you speak to the customer and they explain. They say okay their requirements, and then you search the device. I mean, you need a vendor which need to be flexible enough to provide you all that requirements, and then you do your quality assurance. And okay, also the compatibility and also the integration with TASSTA, and before entering and providing it to the customer.
Yes, and it's I would say it's one of the key points of our offer is that extra bit where it's not just I found this on internet. It looks like it's working. Can you make your application running on this? It's not. So we wish it was that simple, but unfortunately, there's so many manufacturers, there's so many options on the market. Not all of them are to the same quality. There has to be a validation process, and to make sure the customer doesn't experience a 6 months working and then we've installed it on 150 vehicles, and all of a sudden you have to replace for not spending $200 more on a device. You have $1,000 on every vehicle expenses to replace it. So it is quite fundamental that the right device for the right customer is found.
Okay, yeah, I think I can agree, because it is also about a mission critical environment, and especially if it is coming also to installation of a piece of hardware in a car or in a truck, then it needs to be 100% sure because you cannot repeat that process every year.
No, not every year, and also the way you manage the device is also very important, because it's one of the biggest costs going into the vehicle and change something. It's very different from the business of the handheld device and the portables, where you actually have it with you, and the interaction with the device, it's much simpler, and it's even the replacement or the repairs is much simpler process.
So tell us about the other sample you wanted to give us. I think it was about the security company, right?
Yes, security companies. So we had an engagement with a few security companies, either from event security. That's been something that with COVID was a bit slowed, I'd say. Events are not exactly the favorite at the moment, but security company do have in-building checks and other like vehicle X or a few other things. So what we found with the security company is that one of the key requirements, at least here in Australia and for the company that we've engaged, may not be necessarily valid for everybody, as they wanted a reliable device that was really simple to use, in the sense that they didn't want to provide a sort of a complex training to operators. Operators, the guards could be contractors at times. They don't necessarily employees that are with you in a construction site. You'd have your employees and you train them. For security guards, the turnover may be higher, maybe a bit more complicated to deliver the training. So the device has to be as simple as possible and as robust as possible, because, well, first of all, it needs to be used while they move around, and the primary attention is not on the device itself. It can fall. It can simply get, because their attention is what is actually the security is happening. And because of this, they didn't also want the user to be able to change things on the device. And most of these companies, they came to us and they were requiring device that didn't have really a screen, but just an LED. So in part because they had a radio that looked like that, and they had that emotional attachment to the radio. In part is because that radio was actually delivering really good results, and they were just replicating that with some addition that the software, of course, bring compared to a traditional radio. So the GPS, the location, the integration with other applications that could run on the background, NFC sensor and whatsoever, task management. So because of that, then we selected two vendors, and we brought both of them into the market. And it was like sort of, could say, an entry level and a more sophisticated device. Now, I could mention the vendor. It's probably someone that has followed the webinar with you have seen few of those options already within your partner portfolio. So I won't say anymore. And
no, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine because it's just important, yeah, to see for the audience that okay, when we are talking about security, yes, security guards, which are the requirements, and which, need to be fulfilled, yes, and it need to be simple, it need to be very rugged and easy to distribute.
Yes. If I can add one thing in terms of the approach of Vertel, it fits into these two scenario that I described that could be interesting for other people.
Yes.
What we actually realized after we've sort of went into this very specialized hardware side of the business is that those devices, they not necessarily have a screen, and they may even be in kiosk mode with a display locked with a solution that is not designed to let the user touch the screen or do changes on the device. So one of the key things that we had to add to the solution was actually a sort of a MDM solution, a dedicated management device solution that would allow us to remotely control both the TASSTA and the hardware. And
because this distribution is so important, right? Because the distribution is, I mean, you found out it doesn't matter if it is even the the base management or the security company. You need 100% flexibility in distribution, and you created. Tell us about the solution you created for that.
Yeah. So we created something that allows, for example, we have a partner that is managing quite a large fleet. And one of the requirements is just simple, change the user on a device. It looks very simple, but if the device doesn't have a screen, that simple task is not that simple. So the solution at the beginning was simply, well, get the device in, connect something, use a software to sort of do a virtual screen. Once you have a fleet of 1,000, it is not exactly an easy task to manage. So more mainstream MDM had a quite steep cost for the solution, and it also had a lot of functionality that was absolutely useless in the scenario. So we actually built and delivered a solution that was a bit more narrow in the scope, but it was actually tailored for a test environment plus the hardware. So control of very specific hardware features, battery levels, network, and control of very specific TASSTA features such as user changes and other things. So, and that solution is quite useful for both our customers when they want to manage it themselves, or our partners when they want to manage it, or an IT manager when he wants to manage the fleet for the customer. It's very interesting.
You explained it to me one time, and I really liked the idea, and I think it is a 100% perfect approach that so principally you can remotely change the setting of each user, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if it is a screenless device, if it has a half screen, full screen, whatever. What you are offering is that it's possible to change the individual setting of each user remotely.
Yeah, that's correct. And the other thing that is very interesting for our partners is that, and our customers, A lot of hardware have this kind of solution, or at least the high standard one. They do have normally solution as such. One of the problem is that sometimes you have a fleet of 3 different hardware, and what we bring is maybe an interface with the vendor platform, but we present it as one single platform to the customer, so they don't have to learn 3 different software. That maybe it's 5 clicks, but it's 3 different software on 5 clicks on 3 different software for a guy that wants to do it once a week. It may not be the best solution. So that simplification is something that was appreciated from our customers.
So it is. Can we describe it like that? That it is a unique MDM solution. I mean, it's not an MDM like in a let's say in a wide definition of MDM, but it is taking a special part of that concept and idea and bring it on the table, which is the part which, let's say, all our customers, I would say, yes, all our users might be interested in.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very specialized MDM. There are not many solutions, and it's because it's very specialized and is not trying to manage every possible device that is out there and everything. It is very specific to the push to talk word and again the buttons and the emergency button and the username and password. It allows us to be a bit more efficient and a bit more cost effective. So it's something that we can bring easily, and we can integrate with for any customer.
Okay, excellent. I mean, so yeah, I just wanted to repeat that because I believe it's a very, very important and for many cases an essential tool. And also what we are discussing right now with you is that if somebody has a question about that tool, it's also possible to ask TASSTA, and we are going to forward whoever needs that tool to you. To find the, let's say, the concept and idea to move forward, right? Is that that's an option, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely, that's an option. I mean, if the solution cannot be delivered for whatever reason, it's always good to have a discussion on what are the requirements. I'm pretty friendly. I don't scare, and I'm always interested in having discussion with people that have similar problems. Even if the solution is not there, even just talking and discussing is actually very helpful for us too. So it's something that I encourage a lot. And for Kevin knows, even if I'm in Australia, 2 o'clock in the morning is okay for me.
yes, because I mean, you are coming from Italy, so you are covering different.
I'm on an Italian time zone in Australia, so I covered both. It's okay. No, it's fine.
Yes, perfect. No, I mean, from my point of view, yes, I wanted to share with the users and partners, let's say POC, mission critical environment, or the industry, your thoughts and your view as a system integrator, but not I would say not a only system integrator. Also, you are adding value add. I mean, you add something into the solution, you develop also around it to make it even better and to fit even more than, I would say, really very close to 100% to all the customer requirements. When even, let's say, we are as TASSTA, because we are not covering always all segments so heavily.
Yeah, and I want to stress on it, the time where people could just buy, put a margin and sell, I think is not there anymore. The value add and the real value add has to be delivered to the customer. Then, and when it does, it's actually customer will appreciate that, and I will recognize that. So it's very important to find the space and what you actually can deliver on top of the solution. You put in the solution together is something. A value add is always something better.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, so thank you for sharing, Alberto.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and and understanding how the things are in Australia working. So it's quite similar than the rest of the world, and and it's really it was nice to understand, yes, which requirements the customers have, and how you approach them, and how you move step by step to reach this 100% customer satisfaction, and giving them the right experience. And especially for me as TASSTA, it's very important also to understand and also to share with everyone that yes, you also develop even around TASSTA something to optimize even the distribution more than what we have right now, which is absolutely perfect. Because sure, everybody has resources and need to focus on what the company can do best, and it is a really great pleasure having you as a partner. That's, I mean, adding even that part to that we can even, yes, promote it by ourselves, you know, that we can say, yes, please contact Vertel, and please contact Alberto, because there is something they are adding into this TASSTA suites, and it's getting even now better than before.
Great.
Yeah, good.
Perfect. See everybody then.
So yeah, so stay safe.
See you, Kevin.